Welcome. This is Jan Spencer in Eugene, Oregon. Thanks for joining us. This program is transforming a suburban property. And this particular presentation is part of a larger series, a primer for paradigm shift, which I've been working on for quite a while, actually done several versions of a primer for paradigm shift. So we'll just take a quick look at what the primer we have so far and what we have coming up as well. These you see here are all presentations that I've done that are on YouTube now. This is a series. Each particular presentation builds on the one before it. We had a critique of capitalism, aspects and foundations of paradigm shift, real life examples. I love that, to see what people are actually doing, taking paradigm shift to a wider audience. That's fascinating too. How can we get positive information out to more people? Our last program was with Ole Erson at Kailash Eco Village in Portland. You can see all of these on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you can do a search, my name, Jan Spencer Primer, and these will come up. You can see these on YouTube. And presentations coming up. These are once a month Zoom presentations. February, permaculture in a suburban neighborhood. That's my neighborhood here in Eugene. We've had a lot of interesting things happen over the years. In March, pushing back on cars. I have a big interest in land use and transportation. Automobiles are a huge issue. You can't understate the importance of how we design our cities. And then in April, public places and pushing back on cars in Europe. Many people have a great love for Europe. I do myself. I've spent a good deal of time in Europe. There's lots of cars in Europe too, but there are wonderful examples of urban places that are low on cars, or they completely don't allow cars to be in those areas. Those are the kinds of places people like to go visit. People don't like to go visit parking lots. They like to go visit places that there aren't cars. So, and you're welcome at any time to do a screen grab of any of these. Once again, this is going to be on YouTube, and when it's on YouTube, you can stop the presentation at any point. There's a lot of text here. I'm not going to read everything here. There's a lot that you can look at when it's the YouTube version, because you can stop the slide and you can take a closer look. Quick look at primer and upcoming presentations. We just did that. This is just a really short flow chart. I really like making graphics. This is a flow chart of the entire series here. And this is the part one, part two, they all overlap. This is just a great kind of a table of contents in graphic form right there of this whole series of presentations, a primer for paradigm shift. I'm just going to go through a few of these. I just love all of these aspects of paradigm shift, and there's more to these too. You look at these, you may come up with some of your own as well. But I'll just read a couple of these just because it provides a little bit more context for this presentation right here. A significant amount of paradigm shift can manifest in our own lives and homes, with families, friends, and neighbors as soon as we choose to. Paradigm shift in the world we'd like to see doesn't have to wait for some distant future. We can do a lot of shifting in our own lives, and we can start enjoying a lot of the benefits of a more, how could I say, responsible lifestyle. We can do that sooner rather than later, just by choosing that's what we're going to do with our time and money. And that could be done as individuals, could be done with friends, with neighbors, with the family. Many of today's most challenging and expensive social and ecological problems are totally avoidable. One of the presentations I did was about economics, And one of the comments I made, and I had a graphic to illustrate this, when you consider that millions and millions of jobs in this country exist to repair the damage caused by millions and millions of other jobs and products, it just doesn't make sense. That's why our economic system is not a companion for bringing about a preferred future, a sustainable future. But also, it's important to know that the consumer culture and this economic system has absolutely produced many types of tools, many types of information that is completely helpful in bringing about paradigm shift. We can complain about the economic system and the consumer culture, and it deserves it. But in spite of itself, there's a lot to work with for helping to bring about a sustainable, healthy future. And Zoom is actually one of those. This is just wonderful to have this technology. There are untold thousands of people and organizations already working to bring about paradigm shift all over the world. It is a complete fact. There's people here and there all over the place who would say that I'm helping to bring about a more healthy, safe, secure future in a purposeful way, whether they're tuned into permaculture or not. There are many people who are engaged in paradigm shift in their own lives, and these are wonderful stories. A couple of my presentations are all about what people are doing. Ole Erson, our last presentation, turned a run-down, drug-infested apartment complex in Portland, Oregon, into a thriving eco-village. That's one of the best stories I know. There's people making a preferred future happen in the present tense. We empower our advocacy for paradigm shift when we visibly live the change. We make a good impression for a preferred future when we behave that way in our own lives. What kind of transportation we use, what kind of food we eat, our own lifestyles can be a shining example of what paradigm shift can look like. It's not a time to be shy. We can advocate, and of course, we need to be diplomatic and sensitive about that, but there's never been a greater need for people to show what a preferred future can look like. So I just want to do a couple of slides from the previous programs just to add to the context when we think about the big problems, the environmental problems, the political, economic, public health, social. I just have to say that the economic system is the common denominator for just about all of those. But we can blame capitalism, but as long as people continue to buy the products, we can only expect more of the same. And that's why downsizing our lifestyles, reducing our eco footprints is so important. But I go into more detail about this in one of the first YouTube presentations. Paradigm shift, the priorities of paradigm shift, what this means to me, a sustainable society exists within the boundaries of the natural world. A sustainable society brings out the best and positive human potential, and it embraces economic and political democracy. We kind of don't have so much of that right now. And also restoring the natural world. These are just several of the most basic aspects of paradigm shift. And I love graphics. Like I said, I made this graphic right here. These are the accumulated wisdom of the world's great spiritual traditions. That's spiritual traditions. I don't focus on the religion. I'm not so interested in that. But the wisdom that spirituality has graced the human race with: care for the natural world, modesty of lifestyle, service to the community, uplift of the spirit, accountability for our actions. You can't do any better than that. One could base a lifestyle on these ideas. One could base an economic and a society on these ideals. And over here on this side, these are some aspects of paradigm shift: reduce eco footprints, build civic culture. We have many allies and assets to work with. How we use our own time and money. I am very fond of permaculture, a design system, an ecologically responsible design system. Positive human potential is our greatest renewable resource. So this is a popular representation of permaculture. You can find this exact image online if you want, but it just shows that permaculture is far more than how to grow vegetables. That's important, but permaculture principles and ideals of working with nature um, are an extremely powerful tool for helping to bring about paradigm shift. You could design a suburban property with permaculture. You could design an economic system with permaculture. It's planet friendly, it's efficiency, it's slow solutions, it's positive. You can find out a lot about permaculture on the internet. There's lots of videos and lots of content about permaculture on the internet. So a real quick look at the upcoming presentations. The next February will be a look at permaculture history here in my neighborhood in Eugene. We've had a lot of wonderful events over the years here in my neighborhood in Eugene, and that is not to suggest this is ecotopia. Of course it's not, but there is an appreciable amount of permaculture, different properties, different events, things we've done over the years to encourage more people to adapt these ideas to their own lives. Pushing back on cars in the United States, I'll talk a little bit about how automobiles became such an important aspect of a life here in these United States. It's no pun intended, it's not an accident. There's more money to be made with cars and the infrastructure and with suburbia than there is with sensible urban planning, that being walkable neighborhoods, public transportation. That's a big reason why we have cars. They make more money than bicycles and trains and walkable neighborhoods. So pushing back on cars, this picture from the mid 50s, kids and moms are out blockading this intersection because there were so many kids being run over by cars going to school. This is in the United States right here. And these are just only a few of what we'll see for this presentation in March 13th. Freeway fights, parking day, critical mass bike rides. This photo right here is the Southwest Corridor in Boston. This could have been a freeway. The local people said, we don't want the freeway, and they stopped the freeway. There used to be a freeway right here, and it was taken out. That's in Portland, Oregon. So there's lots of wonderful examples of people pushing back on cars. I mentioned I like Europe a lot. I've spent a good deal of time in Europe, and a fair amount of that time actually going to places that are known for being friendly to pedestrians and bicycles. So I'll show, I took these pictures here. I didn't do this one here, but I took these pictures here. So this presentation, April 10th, is going to be about pushing back on cars in Europe and public places. They go together wonderfully. Public places are most popular when there's not so many cars there. So that is the program for April 10th. And all these, of course, are free. They all have the same Zoom login. I may do some more presentations after these too. There's just so much interesting material, to share. So, okay, this is part of my neighborhood right here. This is a River Road neighborhood on northwest of downtown Eugene, about a mile and a half. This yellow rectangle is actually my place right here. And these other rectangles indicate other properties that have permaculture interest. Most of them do have permaculture features. Here and there around the neighborhood. And our next presentation, we'll take a look at some of these places as well, but we're going to focus on my place right here on Benjamin Street. So how does suburbia happen? Suburbia happened uh, as part of the evolution of transportation. I mentioned government policy from the Great Depression. This is a freeway in Detroit that went through a minority neighborhood, so white commuters could go downtown. Levittown is a big part of suburbia. Suburbia is an intentional product, largely to create employment and generate economic activity. That's why we have so much suburbia. So, what were some of my goals for this suburban transformation project? I want to reduce my ecological footprint. I want to produce more of my basic needs at home. I wanted to, as I could, reduce my participation in an economic system I have big problems with. And I wanted also to show what a suburban property can look like. So those are some of my motivations for doing this. And as I mentioned, the economic system has provided us with a lot to work with to make a transition towards sustainability. And suburbia is one of those locations, a caveat being that not all suburbia is created equal. There are some locations of suburbia that have more potential than others due to soil, to climate, to city regulations, to the local culture. Not all suburbia is created equal. My place here, I couldn't have done better for where to do a suburban permaculture project. My place is probably a lot better than average, but almost any suburban property has something to work with. And it's not only about producing food or catching rainwater, there's a social and housing aspect. We have a lot of homeless people. We have a lot of potential to densify suburbia so we don't spread out so much. There's lots of reasons for doing that. So this is a graphic of my place. I happen to be sitting right here in this spot right here. This is where I am sitting right here. This is a detached structure that I built behind my main house. I'm single. I don't need this space. I rent 3 rooms in my house. This is my house here, and the street is out here. There's garden. There's lots of elevated landscaping. These are water storage tanks here. This is a passive solar. This area here, this is on the south side of the property. This is north, this is south, this is west, and this is east here. I have lots of not only garden, but edible landscaping of fruit and nut trees, brambles, different types of vines like grapes and kiwi fruit. There's a lot going on here. I've been doing this for 23 years. When I bought this place, doing a suburban permaculture transformation was my intention from the start. This is why I bought this house. I took a permaculture design course in Houston when I lived in Houston, and this was the place I could apply that permaculture knowledge. But this isn't rocket science. There's a lot of just common sense involved with transforming a suburban property. But it's nice to think about it. It's nice to see what other people have done with their properties too. So we'll take a quick look. Grass to garden, edible landscaping. I took out my driveway, turned the garage into living space, rainwater storage, my accessory living structure here, um, patio to passive solar. I've done some collaboration with my neighbors. This is an educational resource. There's an aesthetic aspect to this too. It's just nice being here. So this is what my place looked like when I moved in 23 years ago. You can see it's a very modest 1955 suburban house. It started out with 2 bedrooms, about 1,000 square feet. That's not a big house, a one-car garage. So this is what the place looked like when I moved in 2020. And this is more what it looks like in the summertime. Doesn't look like this right now. It's winter here, of course, but this is uh, basically these are all Marion berries. These are grapes and blackberries. You can see the tops of some of this trellising. This is where my driveway used to be, right here. This is where I had a driveway, but it's not there anymore. And this is coming on to the property. You remember, this is the house here. We're a little bit closer. But what these red lines represent, you can see up here, this is the driveway I had. Just a typical driveway. You could park 5 or 6 cars here. And early on, I wanted to take out my driveway because I could put that property, that land to better use. So a friend and I rented a cement saw and we cut up the driveway. And this is what's left, just a sidewalk right here. That's what's left of the driveway. And then here, you can see this rectangle in red. Of course, that is turning the one-car garage into a living space. That's where that door is. This right here is this right here um, to make this a 3 bedroom house. I lived in this space for 7 years before I built the structure that I'm in right now. So, um, yeah, it's a project to take out a garage or to take out a driveway. Fortunately, there was no rebar in the 4-inch thick slab, but a cement saw, a friend and I did it. I wouldn't want to do it for a living, but I sure am glad. It was one of the highlights of my permaculture career is taking out that driveway because it's in much better use now. And this is kind of looking back towards the street. This was just grassy front yard. You can see right here, this is what this view looked like. Almost the same view in this picture here and this picture up here. There was a cherry tree here. I ended up taking out the cherry tree. It was not the best use of space. So I have garden in front and I have lots of edible landscaping in front also. And all of this right here, it's a grape arbor. When you come onto my property, this is the street out here. This is my next door or across the street neighbor here. And then on this shed that I built, I actually have trellising up on the shed roof, and I grow grapes up on the shed roof as well. So it's kind of in permaculture, the term is stacking functions. The same footprint, storage, a roof to keep the rain out of my shed, and then to have food growing up above that roof. I just climb up there on a ladder and I pick grapes. I make grape juice out of those. So here is the backyard. When I moved in, I wanted to have a large picture of the backyard. This is what my place looked like when I moved in. And this, of course, is the south side of the house right here. There's that cherry tree I mentioned in the front yard. So the place was not a wreck. It just needed some attention. And I was fortunate to be able to buy this place And then this is slightly different angle, but this is the same view. This is the same back south side of my house. I One of the first things I did was I had installed a solar hot water heater. I put a metal roof on my house. I did that. I put this metal roof on my house. I had shingles before. A friend and I rebuilt the sunroom. You can see all this glass. This is just a really nice place in the sunroom on a cool sunny day. It helps heat my house. It doesn't freeze in there. I have lots and lots of plants inside here right now because they've got to come inside in the wintertime because it's too cold. But this right here, this big shrub right here, remarkably here in Eugene, that is a lemon tree. This is a lemon tree and it produces a lot of lemons. Our plant hardiness zone, if you're familiar with that, we're an 8B in the plant hardiness zone. That's not citrus. You need to have at least like 9A to be a fairly safe place for citrus. I have to cover the lemon tree now and then, so it's not like this on its own. I take care of my lemon tree. It wouldn't look like that if I didn't cover it, but it is just a remarkable example. It's a celebrity lemon tree. Lots of people know about this lemon tree. So here's the garage. This is what the garage looked like when we were remodeling it right here. And this view right here is the same view as this right here. We found an 8-foot slider on Craigslist and put it in, built it. There's insulation on the floor, there's insulation in the walls, just a very simple remodel project. And so this becomes a living space. One of the uh, tasks for my house is to earn me income. I have people living here and they pay rent to live here. This is a very important part of my own personal economics here as well. This view is looking out to the backyard. That view is years ago. This view looks a lot different. We'll see what this view looks like more contemporary. This is almost the same view as the previous photo, looking out that 8-foot slider. And um, the this is the other side of the lemon tree right here. And this is the structure that I built right here. And of course, this image here shows what the backyard looked like before I did anything. This is at the beginning right here. Amazingly, somebody had already closed in the south side patio before I bought the house, but it wasn't very well done. So a friend and I rebuilt that. So and put glass up in the ceiling as well. So that was a remodel and built much better the second time around. So this is the structure I'm sitting in right now. I'm actually behind this window right here. That's what I would be looking out. Of course, it's dark right now, but this is where I'm sitting. Of course, that's me right there. And I've done a lot of site tours of this place. So this is the structure that I built. So that provides another sleeping, living space on the property. It allows me to rent that room that used to be the garage. I rent that now. So of course that's paid for itself a long time ago. So this is just a very well insulated. On the other side, I have glass up in the roof to make this passive solar. And here you can see these are grapes growing on the roof of this covered workspace that I have here. These are grapes here. This is a peach tree here. And again, this is just the very edge of that lemon tree right there. So this is inside the sunroom. I just took this picture a few days ago. This is what it looks like in my sunroom. I don't heat this space, but it doesn't freeze. It never freezes. Oh, looks like I misspelled that right there. So just a really nice to have passive solar. If it's a cold, cloudy day, it's chilly in here, but when the sun comes out, it's like magic. It warms up because that's just what the sun does. That's passive solar energy, and I just love it. And it's a shame that the architecture profession has been so negligent in using passive solar design all these years. We really haven't done very well, uh, quite confidentially, with what we've built and how we've managed, the unbelievable abundance of nature. We haven't managed that very well. And of course, that's what paradigm shift and permaculture is all about, is to take as much what we can that's already here and rework it into something that is more responsible. And my property here is just a small example of that. So, okay, I also have rainwater catchment. I wanted to have a rainwater system when I moved in. I bought this tank and this tank. They're used agricultural tanks, and I installed those one of the first things I did when I moved here, because I couldn't move those around now because I've got so much stuff that I built or that's grown in the last 20 years. If you're going to be doing something like this to a property, try to anticipate what you're going to do and do some of the big heavy lifting stuff first, so you don't have so much in the way. But okay, how did this 3,000 gallon tank find its way to the part of my property that's furthest from the road? This is the furthest. This is my backyard fence right here. Well, the way that this ended up in that location is that I had permission from my neighbor on the other side of my backyard fence. We cut the fence down and leaned it over and rolled the tank over the fence onto this pad that you see right here. It really worked well. We had such a fun time doing that. Doing these projects, let me just, a quick tangent. It's so fun to do projects with people and friends to help out, and everybody learns something as well. That's a big part of the social aspect of paradigm shift. This is a wonderful opportunity to meet people and work together and build civic culture, a cohesive neighborhood. So I catch rainwater that comes off the roof, and a quick important statistic is, if you can catch all the rainwater on 1,000 square feet and put all that in a tank, that's about 550 gallons. 1,000 square feet of catchment space, catch all that water an inch, and you've got about 550 gallons. I could fill up these tanks and empty them 6 or 8 times here in Eugene over the course of the wintertime. We have a wet winter. It's a dry summer here. We have a Mediterranean climate. It's a wet, cool winter, and it's a dry, sunny summer. So I use my rainwater mostly for irrigation for my garden. This tank I bought new, the big tank is new. It's food grade plastic. If I needed to, I could clean up that water very easily to drink. But with 4 people living here, and I have all this garden, 6,500 gallons of storage, this would not be enough water. It wouldn't be close to enough water to go over the entire summer to water the garden and take care of people's needs if the water was turned off, if something happened and we had to just get by on what was stored. Um, when everything is so convenient, you flick a switch, you turn a faucet, we're really very unknowledgeable about how much stuff we use because everything is so convenient. How much water do we use? If you knew, uh, a good, strong bike rider, like a strong, powerful bike rider could light a 25-watt light bulb maybe for a half an hour before they started the tire out. That is just amazing to consider and think about how we use electricity or how we use gasoline. We are using a lot of stuff, not because we need to, but just because there's a lot to use and it creates a lot of economic activity. So that's part of my ideal here is to reduce my footprint and I still buy plenty of stuff. Absolutely. There's no prayer of being off the grid. That's not a goal. I don't think we need to do that, but we definitely need to be using a lot less than what's typical for the average American, not to mention the people who have the multiple houses and the big cars. So here's some pictures of taking out the driveway. We rented a cement saw. My friend and I, neither one of us had done this. Well, you figure it out. It's very noisy. You need earmuffs. You don't cut all the way through 4 inches. There's a whole methodology to taking out concrete. You don't have to cut all the way through it. Uh, Renting the cement saw is only part of the expense. You have to rent the diamond tip blade to cut the concrete as well. That costs just as much as a cement saw. But still, this wasn't a huge project, didn't cost a lot of money. Maybe we rented the equipment for $100 for a couple of days. I can't remember, but it was so satisfying to take out this concrete. And again, there was no rebar. I think I understand driveways don't normally have rebar, but if there had been rebar, it would have been a totally different story. But this is loading up a lot of the chunks. My friend here has an eco village in Eugene, and he wanted to have some of the chunks of concrete. So Rob took some of them. I kept some of them. So this is kind of in between. This is what's left, the sidewalk we left. And of course, you've seen this picture before. That's what it looks like more or less now. And of course, this is an older picture. There's a house across the street now. So that was so satisfying. This picture here, it's great to do all these projects on your own property, but the scale of transformation has to be far larger than just a few people transforming their suburban property. There needs to be a lot more transformation besides that. So my next door neighbor has similar ideas too. So we agreed we wanted to take out this hedge right here. It was a nice hedge, but it wasn't making any food. So my neighbor and I agreed we wanted to take the hedge out, but we had to do this together because the hedge was right on top of the property line. Neither one of us could take that hedge out on our own, but we agreed working together as neighbors with a common interest. So what we have now is he has edible landscaping on his side of the fence, and I've got edible landscaping on my side of the fence. So a small little story. I actually know about people and places and properties where multiple neighbors have taken the fences down and they're actually much more sharing space. One place I know in Davis, California called N Street Co-op. The whole suburban block, the fences have been taken down. If you want to write that down, that's N Street Co-op in Davis, California. There are a couple places in Eugene that aren't as sizable as N Street Co-op, but they some fences down also, even a couple places here in my neighborhood. But I'll show a picture at the end of this presentation that gives you a little bit of an idea. Wow, would I like to live in a place like that? But first things first. But this is a good story. It's a small collaboration, but it was an important collaboration. because when we work with each other, we learn skills, social communication skills to more effectively work with each other. We really need to be doing a lot of that. If you're acquainted with the conversation about housing, of course, we know there's not enough affordable housing because developers would rather build bigger stuff that they can get more money from. That's a big reason why there are so many homeless people. It's a complicated issue, absolutely. But there's more money to be made by building larger houses, and that's where the money goes. So, what can we do? We can help make up for that dynamic of the economic system, and we can rent rooms in suburban houses. That's exactly what I'm doing. I rent 3 rooms in my house. This is a room I have for rent. Of course, we've seen this picture here. So that's an important part of my home economics is renting rooms in my house. I've got 4 people, myself included, living on this property. We need to densify. We need essentially to have more people and less space to reduce our ecological footprints. So this is my place. This right here is behind me right here. You can see this light back here behind me. That's just right over here. So I built a very nice place. Actually, it's a little larger than it needed to be. When we did the slab and I saw the entire slab, I said, wow, I didn't realize my place was going to be so big. It's about 400 square feet. It's a design that could easily accommodate a couple of people living together. I live here by myself, but I designed it and built it. It's permitted, and it's a great place to live. I have a great view of my backyard, so this is if it's important to have a place to live that we feel good about living in. That's so important. A home, an urban location should uplift the spirit. It's hard to do that with lots of parking lots and the noise and trauma that automobiles deliver to us. But that is a big part of paradigm shift, a big part of sustainability is to create places that are more healthy to live in visually, air quality, noise, socially. All of these aspects of urban living can be better. And that goes for suburbia too. I've done this to my own little suburban property. This is where I'm sitting right here. This is what I would be looking out at if it was daytime. I've got my insulated drapes pulled down because it's chilly outside. So that's another picture. This is, I have another part of this space that I don't heat it in the wintertime. It's just a big volume. You can kind of see some of this glass up here. So that's the passive part, passive solar part of that. And then nice place for a cat to sleep. So I really am grateful for having such a beautiful spot to live in. It didn't happen by itself. There's a term I like a lot called home economics, and that is simply just taking care of more of our needs closer to home. Um, how do we manage our time and money? I make time to make time available to engage in doing these projects. I can't afford a $50,000 kitchen remodel. I'm not interested in a $50,000 kitchen remodel. Instead of doing the remodeling to update my home, it's never been remodeled. I invested in the hot water, the solar hot water, the water storage tanks, my heat pump, my metal roof on my house. This is an extremely critical sort of understanding about paradigm shift is how we use our own time and money. Maybe some people have tons of money. That's not a worry. A lot of people don't. I don't. I have to make my money do what is most useful for me. And a lot of that has been to invest in my place to make it a suburban permaculture project. I do lots of stuff in the kitchen. I just love to. Here, I'm making grape juice. This last summer, actually September, I made by hand. I don't have a machine to do this. I just love to I just love to do the grapes. It's just so much fun. I made about 9 gallons of grape juice. And here is a salad. Most of the ingredients came from my garden, home economics. I gave my truck away this past summer. I don't have a car anymore. Yay, I'm happy about that. I have 2 different bike trailers for different purposes if I need a little bit more lift capacity. Uh, if I'm moving something around. Of course, we've seen the sunroom, but these are all aspects of home economics, taking care of more of our basic needs where we live. This isn't to try to be self-sufficient. That's just not even even anything reasonable. Unless one really wanted to go back a couple of 100 years. I like electricity. I like the internet. I think we can keep the good stuff that our affluence and our modern science has brought to us. And I think we can leave the other stuff behind. I think to a large degree, if we were smart, we could come close to having our cake and eat it too, actually. That is a big hope. But my experience here with my own property, I like to think that I have gone a long ways towards uh, manifesting that kind of arrangement between my own lifestyle and what the impact is on the environment. I've done the um, global footprint network. You can go online and take their eco footprint test. They ask you a lot of questions about your lifestyle, and then this calculator will tell you this is how many planet Earths it would take for everybody in the world to live like you. It's 5 planets for the average American, according to their analysis. I've seen other content similar to that. We're all just using way too much energy and materials. I've taken the test, and if I discount my air flight from Eugene to Europe and back, if I say, oh, I didn't do that, if I don't include that, then I'm right at about 1. And this is a very comfortable lifestyle as well. So it's hopeful we can have a very high quality of life and still at the same time reduce our impact on the environment. Would it be different from what we have now? It absolutely would. It would be very different, but there would be many benefits to a sustainable ecological society. These pictures here, these are walnuts from my own property. I have a couple walnut trees. These are filberts. A lot of filberts grow in this area. Hazelnuts, filberts, they're the same thing. Um, I have access to a filbert grove nearby, and I collected these nuts there. These right here are chestnuts. My next door neighbor, who is also into permaculture stuff, we do some collaborations, has a couple of chestnut trees. So I get some chestnuts from next door as well. I love chestnuts. So this is all locally sourced right here. I like banana trees, so this is my big new banana tree. It'll get even a lot bigger than that. Of course, in the wintertime, the leaves freeze back. It doesn't look like that right now, but the stalk will survive the winter and it'll start growing where it left off uh, in the fall when we had our first freeze. So a place needs to be what whoever lives there wants it to be, to have a few ornamentals. Absolutely. A place should be affirming and it should be a location that we like to live. Another person completely into permaculture could have designed this place totally different and it could have been just as good. This is just what I wanted to do. So here is a little water feature. And this is my driveway. This is part of my driveway right here, where you see all this moss. I have water coming down over this moss. This is almost 20 years worth of moss. This piece of rock right here is actually a piece of driveway. It's just been covered over because it's wet so much of the time. This is all driveway right here. And just nice to have a water feature, creates a little bit more habitat, for the local critters. My place is an educational asset to the community. I've had dozens of site tours here where people have come over and I do some show and tell to describe what I'm doing. Literally, I've had thousands of people visit here over the years. I'm not shy about what I'm doing. There are other places in Eugene that we've had site tours to visit as well. Um, uh, we've had many dozens of site tours in my neighborhood and other places, other parts of Eugene too. There's some other awesome examples of urban, suburban permaculture in Eugene. I'm not the only person doing this here, but my place is certainly one of the best known, and it probably has a density of permaculture design features that probably would cause it to be one of the more impressive places. But here and there, all over the country, there are people making these kinds of transformations. So here's the image that I mentioned earlier. This is a slightly modified Google uh, Google Maps. You can look down anywhere. You can look down anywhere. And this is actually my property right here. This is my house. All of this stuff is already done. This is my living space here. Some of this is already done. A little bit of this is already done. Some of this is already done. But what I want to illustrate with this picture is, what if people really wanted to get serious about transforming their neighborhood? The fences come down, people still have their private property. This is still the property of a particular person, but there's agreements, there's planning in this very ideal scenario about how we want to make better use of our landscape, and how we want to make better use of our social aspects as well. Our neighbors. How can we build a neighborhood community culture where we help each other out? For example, somebody has a a branch chipper, somebody else can borrow it. These kinds of relationships, tool sharers, help with kids, help with work parties. Of course, this is all very fanciful and very ideal, but bits and pieces of this are already happening in some places. I mentioned N Street Co-op in Davis. I know other places where there are significant percentage of this is happening in some places. I'd like to see this become normal. Transforming suburbia, what I've done with my own suburban property here, all the stuff, the times I've been to the big box home improvement store when I had a truck, buying insulation, buying metal roofing, the tanks, uh, the landscaping, the solar hot water heater, all the money and time I've invested in my place shows to me that if there was widespread interest in transforming suburbia, it would create a lot of jobs. This is something that create a lot of jobs. I did most of the work myself because I like to do this kind of thing. I had to ask a lot of questions. There are some people, a lot of people who have more money than I do. They could pay people to do the edible landscaping. They could pay people to install the rainwater system. And some people already doing this in a small scale. Bits and pieces of everything I've talked about are already happening. They just need to be more common and more widely known and more widely put into practice. But transforming suburbia could create a lot of jobs. So this is the conclusion of transforming a suburban property. Many, many benefits. Of course, one of the ideals of permaculture is to design to produce lots of different benefits, multiple benefits from smart design. Transforming suburbia could be good for local business. Um, it brings out positive human potential, helps bring a positive future. It's good for the environment, help mitigate climate change, public health, build positive community culture, learn new skills, empowerment, greater resilience for an uncertain future. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm not a dim scenario person at all. I'm a very optimistic person, but the the situation humans have created for themselves on this planet, it's there's no easy way out of this, but uh, that's not an excuse for not making the effort to do something about it, because there's enormous amount to be gained by making choices with our time and money to be more ecological, to know our neighbors, to be helpful, to be positive, to help bring about a kind of a culture, society, and economic system that we can be proud of. I'm not proud of what we have at all. I'm embarrassed by what humans have done to this planet and to their own selves. Humans deserve better, and they're capable of better. And once again, these are the previous presentations. They're all really good. Lots of pictures, lots of graphics, very educational. I would love it if you passed on this information to your friends, about the upcoming presentations as well. The more people who see this, the better. Of course, it all goes on to YouTube. These are all on YouTube right here. So I am going to say that's what I have for this presentation.